73%. That's how many men between 25 and 35 are trapped in a mental prison they built themselves. 3 in the morning, eyes wide open, mind racing through every conversation from the day, every decision that might go wrong tomorrow, every path not taken. The what-ifs pile up like debris after a storm. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. This isn't just you. 6 million men are walking around with untreated depression right now. Nearly 20% of adults are dealing with anxiety disorders. But here's what's really happening. While everyone's talking about meditation apps and positive thinking, there's an ancient solution that's been hiding in plain sight for 2,000 years. The Stoics, men who faced war, betrayal, plague, and the collapse of empires, they figured out something that modern neuroscience is only now confirming. They discovered how to stop the mental spiral before it starts. Not by running from it, not by drowning it in distractions, but by understanding a fundamental truth about how your mind actually works. And in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what they knew, backed by brain science that proves why it works. Because there's a reason Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire, spent his nights writing notes to himself about controlling his thoughts. He was fighting the same battle you are, and he won. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your skull when you can't shut your brain off. Neuroscientists have been studying this, and what they've found is both disturbing and enlightening. There's a network in your brain called the default mode network. Think of it as your brain's screensaver. When you're not actively focused on something, this network kicks in. And for most people, especially overthinkers, this network becomes a torture device. It's the voice that replays embarrassing moments from 5 years ago. It's the mechanism that turns a simple text message into a full-blown conspiracy theory about what someone really meant. Here's the science. When you overthink, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex thinking, goes into overdrive. It creates excessive neural connections, like a highway system with too many roads going nowhere. Meanwhile, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, starts firing. It's pumping out stress hormones. Your body thinks you're in danger, but you're not. You're just lying in bed thinking about whether you said the wrong thing at lunch. 275 million people globally are dealing with anxiety disorders right now. In the United States alone, nearly 1 in 5 adults experienced anxiety in the past 2 weeks. But here's where it gets dark for men specifically. We're 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. 4 times. And yet, less than half of men with depression ever seek treatment. Why? Because we've been sold this idea that thinking harder about our problems will solve them, that if we just analyze it one more time, we'll figure it out. But that's not thinking, that's rumination. And rumination is to real problem solving what running on a treadmill is to actually going somewhere. You're expending massive amounts of energy and ending up exactly where you started. Psychologists break overthinking into 3 categories. First, there's rumination. That's when you replay the past on an endless loop. Every mistake, every awkward conversation, every moment where you wish you'd said something different. Your brain treats these memories like they're happening right now. Second, there's future tripping. That's when you catastrophize about tomorrow. The job interview that hasn't happened yet. The relationship conversation you're dreading. Your mind creates elaborate disaster scenarios that have a 90% chance of never occurring. Third, there's overanalyzing. That's when you dissect every tiny detail until a simple decision becomes paralyzingly complex. What to eat for dinner turns into a philosophical crisis about life choices. And modern life is gasoline on this fire. You're getting more information in one day than your grandfather got in a month. Social media is a comparison engine designed to make you question everything about yourself. The pressure to perform, to optimize, to level up, it never stops. You're expected to have an opinion on everything, a plan for everything, a backup plan for the backup plan. No wonder your brain won't shut up. But here's what the Stoics understood 2,000 years ago, something we're only now rediscovering through brain scans and psychological research. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote something that sounds like it came from a modern therapy session. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Most of your suffering isn't from what's actually happening. It's from the stories you're telling yourself about what might happen, or what did happen. Your imagination has become a weapon you're using against yourself. Marcus Aurelius wasn't some monk sitting on a mountain. He was the emperor of Rome. He had to make decisions that affected millions of lives, wars, plagues, political intrigue, assassination attempts, the weight of an entire civilization on his shoulders. And yet, when historians found his personal writings, they discovered something remarkable. This man, who had every reason to be consumed by stress, had figured out how to maintain mental clarity in absolute chaos. His book, Meditations, wasn't meant to be published. It was his private journal, his notes to himself. And what do you find when you read it? A man constantly reminding himself not to overthink. Over and over, he writes about the present moment. He mentions it more than 20 times. He's literally coaching himself in real time on how to stop his mind from spiraling. Here's what Marcus understood, what all the Stoics understood. They recognized a fundamental distinction that most people never grasp. Events are neutral. Your interpretation of events is where all your suffering begins. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, put it perfectly. He said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. A job rejection isn't the problem. Your belief that it means you're worthless is the problem. A relationship ending isn't the source of pain. Your story about what it means about your future is what's killing you." The Stoics weren't trying to eliminate emotions. They weren't promoting some robotic, unfeeling existence. They were teaching mental mastery, the ability to choose your response instead of being hijacked by automatic reactions. And here's where it gets interesting. Modern neuroscience is proving they were right. When researchers study meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness practices, they're essentially studying techniques the Stoics invented. Studies show that these practices actually change your brain structure. They reduce activity in the areas associated with rumination. They strengthen the neural pathways that help you regulate emotions. The Stoics didn't have brain scanners, but they figured out through practice and observation what scientists are now confirming with technology. Your thoughts are not facts. Your mind is not your master. And with the right training, you can stop being a prisoner to your own mental chatter. So let's get practical. The cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, the thing every ancient practitioner started with, is called the Dichotomy of Control. And this one concept, if you actually apply it, will cut your mental suffering in half. Here's how it works. Everything in life falls into one of two categories: things you control and things you don't. The Stoics were obsessive about this distinction. They knew that all your anxiety, all your stress, all your overthinking comes from trying to control things that are fundamentally outside your power. You cannot control what other people think about you. You can't control whether you get the promotion. You can't control if she texts back. You can't control the economy, the weather, or whether people like your ideas. But here's what you can control: your actions, your responses, your effort, your character, the standards you hold yourself to. That's it. That's the list. And once you really understand this, once it sinks in deep, everything changes. Because right now, you're probably spending 80% of your mental energy worrying about things in that second category, things you have zero power over. You're lying awake thinking about whether your boss respects you. That's not in your control. You're obsessing over whether that date will lead to a relationship. Not in your control. You're replaying a conversation wishing you'd said something different. The past is not in your control. So here's the practice. Start doing what I call the Control Audit. It's simple but powerful. When you notice yourself overthinking, ask 3 questions. 1. What specifically am I worried about? Get precise. Don't just say, work stuff. Say, I'm worried my manager will reject my proposal in tomorrow's meeting. 2. What part of this situation is actually in my control? In this example, you control the quality of your preparation. You control how you present the idea. You control your professionalism regardless of the outcome. 3. Am I spending mental energy on the uncontrollable parts? If yes, redirect. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't pretending problems don't exist. This is strategic resource allocation. You have limited mental energy. Every minute you spend worrying about uncontrollable outcomes is energy you're not spending on actions that might actually change something. Let's make this concrete with scenarios you've probably faced. Career situation. You want a promotion. You can't control whether they give it to you. That decision involves budget constraints, office politics, your boss's mood, the company's direction, all outside your sphere. But you can control showing up early, delivering exceptional work, building relationships, developing new skills, and asking for the promotion clearly. That's where your focus goes. Relationship situation. You're interested in someone. You can't control whether they feel the same way. You can't control their past, their fears, their readiness for commitment. But you can control being authentic, communicating clearly, respecting boundaries, and choosing to invest in someone who reciprocates your interest. The rest is noise, health situation. You can't control your genetics. You can't control every possible disease or accident. But you can control your daily habits, what you eat, how much you move, whether you sleep enough, whether you see doctors for checkups. Focus there. And here's what happens in your brain when you practice this. Remember that amygdala, your alarm system, that's been firing non-stop? It starts to calm down because you're not constantly triggering fear responses about things outside your influence. Your prefrontal cortex, instead of creating anxious scenarios, starts focusing on actual problem solving. You're giving your brain a clear job. Not control everything, but control this specific thing I actually have power over. This is why Stoicism works where positive thinking fails. Positive thinking tells you to ignore reality and imagine everything's great. Stoicism tells you to see reality clearly and focus your energy where it actually matters. Now I'm going to introduce you to a Stoic practice that sounds completely backwards. It's called Premeditatio Malorum. In Latin, that means premeditation of evils. Basically, negative visualization. And before you think this is just catastrophizing, let me explain why it's the exact opposite. Catastrophizing is when your brain spirals into worst-case scenarios, and you believe they're definitely going to happen. You get trapped in fear. Negative visualization is a controlled, deliberate practice where you calmly imagine challenges, acknowledge they're possible, prepare mentally for them, and then let them go. The difference is night and day. The Stoics used this before every major undertaking, before battles, before public speeches, before important negotiations. They would sit quietly and visualize everything that could go wrong, not to torture themselves, but to remove the power of surprise. Here's what modern psychology has discovered. One of the main sources of anxiety is uncertainty. Your brain hates not knowing what's coming, so it creates endless scenarios to try to prepare you. But those scenarios are usually vague and terrifying. Negative visualization is about making them concrete and manageable. Let's say you have a job interview tomorrow. The catastrophizing mind says, "What if I mess up? What if they hate me? What if I never get another chance?" It spirals. The Stoic mind says, "Let me visualize the worst that could happen. They don't offer me the job. Okay, if that happens, I'll apply to 5 more companies next week. I'll ask for feedback. I'll improve my interview skills. My life continues. I adapt." See the difference? One approach paralyzes you. The other prepares you. Studies on Stoic Week, where thousands of people practice these techniques, show measurable results. Participants reported a 25% reduction in negative emotions and a 12% increase in life satisfaction, just from 1 week of practice. Here's how you apply this. Morning practice, 5 minutes. Sit somewhere quiet. Choose one thing you're worried about today. Visualize it going wrong. Not in a vague, scary way, but specifically. What exactly would happen? How would you handle it? What would your next steps be? Then, and this is crucial, visualize appreciating what you have right now because it hasn't gone wrong yet. This creates 2 effects. First, when challenges actually happen, you're mentally prepared. They don't blindside you. Second, you develop genuine gratitude for your current situation. Most people take everything for granted until it's gone. Negative visualization lets you appreciate what you have without losing it. Here's a practical example. Relationship fear. Instead of vaguely worrying that your relationship might end, visualize it. If it ended, what would that actually look like? You'd be sad. You'd grieve. But then you'd heal. You'd grow. You'd eventually meet someone else or learn to be content alone. Life would continue. And because you visualized this, you can now appreciate your partner more deeply today. Not from fear of loss, but from conscious recognition of the value they bring. Financial fear? Instead of general anxiety about money, visualize losing your job. What would you do? You'd cut expenses. You'd reach out to your network. You'd apply for new positions. You might take temporary work. You'd survive. You've survived worse. Now you can appreciate having income and also prepare an emergency fund without panic driving the decision. The Stoics called this building anti-fragility. Unlike something that's merely resilient, which can withstand shocks, something anti-fragile actually gets stronger from stress. By regularly exposing yourself to imagined difficulties, you're training your mind to handle real difficulties with composure. But here's where most people get tripped up. Even with these practices, even understanding the dichotomy of control, your mind will still try to pull you out of the present moment. Because that's what minds do. They time travel. Your brain evolved to learn from the past and plan for the future. The problem is, it never stops doing this. Right now, while you're listening to this, part of your brain is probably replaying something from earlier today or planning something for tomorrow. This is what psychologists call decoupled cognition. Your consciousness separates from your immediate experience. You're physically here, but mentally somewhere else. And when you're an overthinker, you're almost never actually present. The Stoics recognized this as the root of most suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote about it constantly. Confine yourself to the present. Do not let yourself be distracted by the future. When you eat, eat. When you sleep, sleep. Each action in its right time. This wasn't philosophy for him. It was a survival technique. Seneca made an observation that cuts right to the heart of it. He said, "Wild animals run from danger, and once they've escaped, they worry no more. We, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come." Think about that. A deer gets chased by a predator, escapes, and 5 minutes later it's calmly grazing again. Humans get chased by a metaphorical predator, a bad conversation, and we're still running from it mentally 3 years later. We also run from predators that don't even exist yet, problems that might happen, dangers that are purely imagined. The Stoic practice for this is called Prosoche. It means attention or mindfulness. It's the constant work of bringing your mind back to right now. Not in some mystical sense, in a practical, this is where your power exists sense. Because here's the truth. You cannot act in the past. You cannot act in the future. You can only act now. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every choice that shapes your life, it all happens in this moment. So here's a technique that takes 10 seconds, and you can do it anywhere. The 3-breath anchor. When you notice your mind spinning, take 3 conscious breaths. On breath 1, notice the sensation of air entering your nose, filling your lungs. On breath 2, notice the brief pause at the top of the inhale and the beginning of the exhale. On breath 3, notice the complete exhale and the empty stillness before the next breath begins. That's it. You're not trying to empty your mind. You're not fighting thoughts. You're simply anchoring your attention to something happening right now. Your breath is always present. It's the one thing that only exists in this moment. And here's what happens neurologically. When you focus on physical sensations, you're activating different neural networks than the ones responsible for rumination. You're literally interrupting the overthinking pattern with present moment awareness. Do this 10 times today. It takes less than 2 minutes total, but the cumulative effect is massive. Let me give you a 7-day framework to put all of this together. This isn't theory. This is the practical protocol. Day 1 and 2. Master the dichotomy of control. Start your morning by writing 3 things you cannot control that you've been worrying about. Next to each one, write what you actually can control in that situation. Throughout these 2 days, every time you notice yourself overthinking, ask yourself, is this in my control? If no, redirect to what is. Day 3 and 4, add the morning premeditatio. Set aside 5 minutes each morning. Choose one challenge you're facing. Visualize it going wrong. Plan your response. Then visualize appreciating what you have right now. You're combining preparation with gratitude. Day 5 and 6, implement the present moment anchoring. Set 3 alarms on your phone throughout the day. When each alarm goes off, do the 3-breath anchor. 3 conscious breaths. Return to now. Day 7, integration and reflection. Look back at the week. What felt different? Where did you notice less mental chatter? What practices are you going to continue? Now here's what you need to know about this process. The first 2 days might feel awkward. Your brain will resist. It's been running its habitual patterns for years. You're essentially teaching it a new operating system. That takes effort. But around day 3 or 4, something shifts. You'll notice moments of genuine mental quiet. Not forced, not suppressed, just clear. By day 7, you'll have tangible evidence that this works. And here's the beautiful part. This compounds. If you practice these techniques daily for a month, the changes become automatic. You won't have to think about the dichotomy of control. You'll naturally assess situations through that lens. The negative visualization won't feel strange. It'll be as routine as brushing your teeth. And the present moment anchoring will become your default state instead of mental time travel. Remember that scenario I opened with? 3 in the morning, eyes wide open, mind racing. Let me show you what changes when you have these tools. Same time, same man, but different outcome. He wakes up. Thoughts start coming. But now, instead of following each one down the rabbit hole, he recognizes what's happening. He does a quick control audit. Most of what he's worried about isn't in his control. He acknowledges that. He redirects his focus to what he can actually do tomorrow. He does the 3-breath anchor. Physical sensation. Present moment. The thoughts don't disappear, but they lose their grip. He's no longer their prisoner. He's the observer. And after a few minutes, he falls back asleep. Not because he solved all his problems, but because he stopped creating imaginary ones. 73% of men are overthinking right now. 6 million have untreated depression. 19% are dealing with anxiety. These numbers are real. But here's what's also real. Every single Stoic philosopher started where you are. Overwhelmed, anxious, trapped in their own heads. And they developed these practices not as theory, but as survival tools. Marcus Aurelius wasn't trying to sound wise for future generations. He was trying to make it through another day ruling an empire during a plague. Seneca wasn't writing self-help books. He was coaching himself through political intrigue and eventual execution. Epictetus started as a slave. These were not men with easy lives. They were men who figured out how to maintain mental clarity in the face of actual chaos. And what they discovered works. Not because it's ancient wisdom, but because it's based on how the human mind actually operates. And 2,000 years later, neuroscience is confirming everything they taught. This isn't about becoming emotionless. Stoicism isn't suppression, it's mastery. It's the difference between being controlled by your thoughts and choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. It's the difference between constant mental noise and genuine peace of mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus wrote that. It's not a suggestion, it's a fact. The question is whether you'll use that power or keep pretending you don't have it. Every man watching this has a choice to make. You can keep doing what you've been doing, letting your mind spiral, spending your mental energy on things you can't control, suffering in imagination, torturing yourself with past regrets and future fears. Or you can join the men who are reclaiming their minds. The ones who understand that mental strength isn't about thinking harder, it's about thinking smarter. Who recognize that peace of mind isn't found in perfect circumstances. It's built through practice. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Before you go to sleep, do the control audit. Write down 3 things you've been overthinking. Next to each one, identify what's actually in your control. That's your starting point. And if you're ready to go deeper, if you want to be part of a community of men doing this work, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this channel isn't about quick fixes or positive thinking platitudes. This is about real transformation. Ancient wisdom meets modern science. Practical tools you can use immediately. A brotherhood of men building mental strength together. The Stoics understood something most people never grasp. Your mind is your most powerful asset or your worst enemy. That choice is yours, but you have to make it consciously, every single day. So start tonight. Control audit. 3 things. what you can control versus what you can't. And watch how that simple distinction begins to change everything. Because once you understand where your power actually lies, you stop wasting it on battles you can never win. And you start winning the only battle that actually matters, the one inside your own head.